Mushoku Tensei is the greatest isekai of all time.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
I know this season finished airing a while ago, but I've kind of been on my fantasy kick with like free run airing, so I decided to go back and watch it while I'm waiting for the new episodes. Mushoku Tensei is considered the father of isekai, and it's for a good reason. You go out there, find me another anime that gets me hype each week about a dude trying to get a boner. I'll wait.
I was a little drunk. Plus I was horny.
I was incredibly impressed with Season 1, but Season 2 has been on a whole nother level for me, despite being considered significantly, quote-unquote, slower. The writing, character development, and overall world building is something that I have never experienced with any other isekai. And trust me, I've tried. I've searched far and wide for another anime to give me that same feeling as Mushoku Tensei, but nothing has the complete package.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
Our boy Rudy has gone through some shit, from being an incredibly traumatized shut-in in his actual life to reincarnating and trying to become better, only for his family to separate him from his only friend and then be the victims of a mass teleportation that scatters his loved ones all across the world. And then, of course, you have to travel the demon continent, where eventually he fosters new relationships, trust, and even love. And then more trauma when Eris hits him with the fucking dine and dash. Hey, listen. It's gotta be pretty bad when the person you slept with basically creates a new alias and leaves town. I've seen some people down bad after heartbreak, but Rudius ain't just down. That boy on the fucking floor. He essentially reverts back into his old self with his anxieties and depression, wanting to avoid confrontation at all points. Even so, he packs up his shit and moves forward in search for his mother.
We're gonna find her.
Now, if we were at the start of Season 1, Rudius may have just continued to be a loser, but he has gone through some significant character development. Even though his loved ones are far away, he's not alone. Things have been much worse for him. Just because he's lost some things doesn't mean he's lost everything. However, even though he's come a long way since the beginning of the show, he still has a long way to go. The first part of Season 2 feels pretty similar to that of the Demon Continent arc in Season 1. Rudius is still quite strong, but heavily influenced by his emotions and often beats himself up about the small stuff. Funnily enough, this arc is about my man curing his ED, but the major turning point of the story is the fact that my man realizes he's rocking the limp linguini.
I felt a great disturbance in the force.
This sequence is what made me realize what it is about Mushoku Tensei that makes it stand out. It's perfectly imperfect.
What do you mean by that?
There's an issue in anime and isekai specifically. It's unrealistic.
Why would you say something so controversial yet so brave?
You have an almost perfect MC that is already overpowered and makes perfect friends and finds the perfect love interest and lives this happy little perfect fucking life. And even if that person happened to have a crappy life before, as soon as they reincarnate, they become that MC that I just stated. It's almost like God going, hey, yo, my bad on that whole life thing, my guy. I'll tone it down to easy mode for you next time. It's gotten so bad that parody shows like Konosuba and Eminence in Shadow are created to almost clown on the genre and end up being significantly more entertaining. I know even mentioning the term realism for an isekai is oxymoronic, as the entire premise is reincarnating or traveling to another world. To be fair, we haven't had someone who died or came back from a different universe to confirm if this is untrue, but I'll say the percentage is low. And even if the whole point of fantasy media is to create and display these impossible scenarios, when it's completely devoid of the human experience, for me personally, it hinders my enjoyment. Don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean I won't watch and enjoy some bullshit like I just described. I'm known to enjoy stupidly overpowered characters, but if that's all there is to the show, I'll probably forget what even happened like a month later. When you're able to mix these unlikely scenarios with very realistic shared experiences, you get something that's not only enjoyable, but a story that'll stick with you long after watching. That's Mushoku Tensei. Unfortunately, people aren't perfect.
In a perfect world, men like me would not exist.
We're flawed and make mistakes, and we have to live with those mistakes, but we can use these experiences to learn and grow. Mushoku Tensei most certainly is not afraid to show these flaws, especially in the main cast. Paul is a caring father, but also a piece of shit alcoholic who cheats on his wife.
Because you're a piece of shit.
I am not a piece of shit.
Well, yeah, but you're a little bitch.
Sure.
Eris works and trains very hard, but is fucking annoying and thinks she's better than everyone. And even Rudy. Sure, he's trying to overcome his insecurities and live a better life, but for a very large part of season 1, he's an unlikable degenerate. Paul is still kind of a piece of shit and ruins his reunion with Rudy, but that kind of serves as a wake-up call and he becomes more determined to find his family. Eris decides to try and better herself and not be so dependent, but at the cost of hurting Rudy. These choices and mistakes they have to live with, but you can see how they're attempting to grow.
Tough time never lasts. Only tough people last.
And although Rudy has made some mistakes here and there wasn't one that I felt really changed him. That is until the soft schnitzel comes into play.
Y'all do need help with your pee-pee hosen?
He finally makes new connections with the group Counter Arrow and becomes specifically close with one of the members, Sarah. However, when the deed presents itself, he finds some issues with his, mechanics.
It ain't got no gas in it.
Obviously feeling down and a bit embarrassed, he does what any level-headed person would do. Get drunk and go to a brothel.
Julian.
And when that proves to be unsuccessful, he's left with just being drunk. When that happens, you can act a bit cognitively impaired and say some out-of-pocket shit.
Come on, England.
That's exactly what happens, and of course, when Rudy does this, Sarah hears the entire thing. She's obviously pissed AF, but this is where I think the writing of Mushoku really shines. Instead of chasing after her to explain the situation and trying to remedy the whole thing, Rudy does nothing, and we don't see Sarah again for the rest of the season. That shit feels too real. Connecting with someone, maybe you've gone on a few dates, but then something happens or you say some dumb things and never see them again. Love is a very complicated thing, and it's very infrequent that you get it right the first time, so experiences like these are bound to happen. But when you're feeling down, it's important to have people around you to boost you back up and guide you in the right direction.
Would you guys be there for me if I was going through something?
No. So shouts out to the man Soldat for being an MVP Big Brother type character to Rudy. Simply listening to Rudy's story in the bar was a great gesture, but then he not only stops him from unaliving himself, but allows Rudy to join his party so he can keep busy and not think about what just happened. That's a GOAT friend right there. You know, just making yourself available goes a long way, and I think most people can relate to a time where this has happened for them, or that they've done this for someone else.
I hope you reach out to me so I can ignore you.
This whole ordeal does immense things for Rudy's confidence and morale. And just like he says earlier, just because he's lost some things doesn't mean he's lost everything. He may have ruined his chances with Sarah, but gained a potential lifelong friend in Soldat.
I can't wait to go to your funeral knowing that I could have changed that outcome.
And this friendship isn't the only good thing that happens to Rudy. He then receives a letter to attend the Renoa Institute of Magic as a special student, which was one of his original goals growing up. From this point on, it might be the most normal the show has been in terms of a fantasy isekai setting. I think Rudy deserves a bit of normalcy after growing up with a private tutor, to being shipped away from his family and friends, to then being mass teleported to the most dangerous continent, where then he gets abandoned.
That's rough, buddy.
This transition period displays one of my favorite aspects of Mushoku. In all of these animes with a fantasy world, the world itself just feels like where the story takes place. There's some towns, some forests, but an effort isn't made to familiarize the viewer with this world, and it often becomes forgetful. Mushoku has done one of the best jobs in all of anime of making you actually feel part of the world. I can remember the countryside village of Buena, the large fortress-like citadel of Roa, the vast wastelands of the Demon Continent. Just as much time is spent on creating the world as is the actual story. You could have very easily just jumped from Basharant to Renoa at the end of episode 4, but instead Bine makes use of the credit sequence to show the path Rudy and Ellen Elise take to get there. And once we arrive in Renoa, it's not just boom at the fucking school. We walk through the city before getting to the school courtyard and making it to Genius's office. Then they don't just teleport to the mock battle, but actually walk to the other side of the school. We get to see Rudy make his way around the entire premise, and from that can form a pretty decent concept of the overall layout. It might not seem like a big deal, but these details make you feel like you're experiencing life right alongside the characters. The rest of the season is a bit slower, albeit quite hilarious. We got Rudy trying to cure his ED and learn about the mass teleportation, and the person he goes to for advice on most things is his childhood friend and first crush that he thinks is a dude.
Oh shit!
I'm killing myself.
Forgetting who someone is just because their hair changed color and wore sunglasses is the equivalent of falling for the classic fake mustache glasses trick.
Who are you? Oh, America Jin. Shut up!
You can tell there's a connection between Rudy and Fitz, and they're the only person to get a slight spark down south, which makes Rudy question if he's actually just gay.
俺は男に恋しているのだ。いや、本当に彼は男なのだろうか。
And even once he finds out that Fitz is in fact not a dude, he still isn't cured, which makes me feel that just some part of him wishes that he was, and that to me is fucking hilarious. Sylphie is actually a good character though, and doesn't just leave him when that happens. You know, it's nice to have some happiness in the situation. However, the real MVP of the entire school arc so far has been Luke. Even though he's technically related to Rudius, he doesn't seem to like him or his family, but that doesn't stop him from going completely out of his way to help his fellow man.
Blue, you're my boy!
Thank you, sir.
I have officially dubbed Luke as the king of this realm, thus concluding the boner arc.
That was the plan, to give you a boner, and you got one.
And we can't just talk about this season without giving a huge shout out to Studio Bind and the entire production team. I know there's a lot of experience behind the team there, but for the first actual anime of the studio, it's incredible the quality they've been able to put out. There's a fucking 2D dragon. 2D! We're talking 2Ds. That alone was enough for me, but every scene is filled with so much color and detail that brings this world to life. The music was already really good in season 1, but I think they upped that shit like tenfold. Not only in the OST, but the usage of the opening and ending for storytelling was fantastic. The whole season felt like a journey. So much shit happened in such a short time, but it never felt rushed. And although it was much slower pacing than season 1, this type of character development and world building is unmatched in the isekai genre. Even though we're in this crazy fantasy setting, the characters, no matter their appearance, all feel very human. I've been able to relate to more stuff in this show than an actual slice of life, which just goes to show you how good the writing is. This is an easy 10 out of 10 for me, which feels absolutely wild to say given the contents of this arc. I'm expecting the next part to be similarly paced, probably dealing with Rudy's relationship with Sylphie, and more stuff with the weird mask girl. Regardless of what lies ahead, Mushoku Tensei has cemented itself as the gold standard for the isekai genre. I want to thank you all for watching, and if you had a chance to watch season 2 of Mushoku, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I want to give a huge shout out to everyone supporting me, including Killer Bunny, Little PK, Peppy Jewel, Nicholas Gutierrez, Tech Rob, Shaky Pants, and Chupa. That's all for this one. Hope to see you here again.